This is the beginning of Cosmic Fire webinar commentaries. 16b, we're on page 1241, and we have just been considering a fantastic chart. And I realized here that it's kind of a combination of two charts. Keith Bailey from AUM has taken the information, and he's put all the keys to these circles into the circles themselves, which really helps us see these things. I've tried to explain, or at least point out the connections, how these various masters are connected, how the Christ is connected with the Master M, obviously he's inspired thereby the European Master as well, how the Christ is connected with the Venetian Master and so forth. He's connected directly with the Venetian Master, and so his influence reaches the other four Chohans through the Venetian Master, but he's connected directly with Master Serapis and Master Jesus. That's a direct connection of the Christ. An indirect connection with Master Hilarion, which is kind of strange in a way, I'll tell you why, and with the Seventh Ray Master, because in a way we're told that Master Hilarion, St. Paul, was really the 12th disciple of the Christ, taking the place of Judas. So he was one of the 12 apostles, 12 disciples surrounding the Christ. But there is no direct connection to him, and maybe it's because of the ray line on which he works. So he has to be reached via the Master Jesus. There's no line connecting here, but between Jesus and Hilarion there's a very close cooperation we're told about. And the 5th and 7th ray Chohan are reached by the Christ via the 3rd ray Chohan, who is a Venetian Master. Since the Maha Chohan is on the 3rd ray, he naturally is a Chohan, because he's called the Great Chohan, but the Venetian Master being above, these other Chohans must be a Chohan as well. So the Venetian Master must be a 6th degree initiate. Master KH is, and Master M. So the three of them are on the same line. It's not that we could say, well, that they will become the three great lords when the Christ moves on, because the term of office of the Manu and the Maha Chohan are very, very long. So although Master M will become, well, maybe I have to take that back. The term of the Manu is very long, but maybe the Master M will begin that particular term. But the Maha Chohan has just begun his term around 1925 or so. So it would seem unusual or out of order for the Venetian Master to move up with Master KH, who will become the Bodhisattva, and Master M, who will become the Manu. The Master KH the normal term for a Bodhisattva is 2,500 years. The normal term for a Manu is much longer. The normal term for a Maha Chohan can number in the millions of years. So it's not like all of these three necessarily move together. In the case of M and KH, they do move together because they have been moving together. They tend to be a unit. So they move together in the next root race to become respectively the Manu and the Bodhisattva. But beyond that point, we cannot say whether that moving together would occur. The Buddha and the Christ do seem to move together since Atlantean times, and will be, it looks like, completing the 7th initiation together before the Lord of the world. Some might say, well, the Buddha is a 8th degree initiate, but since he and the Christ took the 4th initiation, the 3rd initiation and the 4th ray ashram, and since the Christ is not yet completed the 7th initiation, as far as I can understand, I think that's correct. He began work upon it, and it takes a long time, and the Buddha is moving with him, and they're going to stand before the initiator together, who will be at that time, I think, the planetary Logos. It would seem they would be taking the same initiation if they stand together, because in Atlantean times they took the same initiation the third, and now it looks like they take later in the Aquarian period the same initiation the seventh. Well, these are, possibly interesting items of information, but they have to remain somewhat speculative. DK has said some things about them. So all I can suggest to everybody is that you study very closely these lines of connection. We would see why certain of the groups have to have their work absolutely coordinated. The three great lords have to coordinate their work closely. The three Buddhas of activity are intersecting with Sanat Kumara, and they have to work under the closest type of coordination. Excuse me. And it looks like the Buddhas of activity have to work in a coordinated manner with the three great lords as well. Here we have 1, 2, and 3 touching the Manu, and 1, 3, 2, and 3, 1, and 2 touching the Mahachohan, and, well, I suppose the direct contact with the Christ. If the three Buddhas of activity are working together in coordination with the Sanat Kumara, and Sanat Kumara has a direct line to the Christ, then the coordination between these 6 and Sanat Kumara is very firm. Now, what may be the individual connections? This isn't our business really, how they manage the plan. The Mahachohan and the European Master, the Mahachohan and Master KH and DK, exactly what their connection is and how they coordinate their activities, we don't know. How the Manu coordinates his activities as well with all of these second-ray masters, and as well with the 5th and 7th ray Chohan, we cannot know, but we just know that the ray line is right. Master DK is receiving quite a bit of input directly from the three great lords. If a line descends straight from the Christ through various masters, we consider it necessarily a direct line, and there's a direct Manu line and a direct Mahachohan line. So he has, in hierarchical terms, kind of the messenger of the master, and being the interface between the deep subjectivity of the hierarchy and man's world, he is very well supported. We don't see here in this map, of course, maybe it had not been arranged, but the Spirit of Peace and the Avatar of Synthesis and the Buddha, as they affect the Christ, are not mentioned. But then again, maybe that arrangement was brought about later when the Christ said in 1945 that he was going to make a physical reappearance. Well, I would say that the implications of this kind of chart are many and varied, and that any line could be taken up as the topic for meditation if an individual or a group felt that this was a necessary thing to do. The Mahachohan has many, many lines of connection, does he not? Although, interestingly enough, the number of lines going forth from the Manu is greater. It's 5 lines, and from the Mahachohan, 4 direct lines go forth, but in a way he has these 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, plus 4 more. He is Mercury in a way, that's 8. He has 4 more that go rather directly through the Venetian master, and his influence reaches them. We could say it's indirect, but in a way it looks like it's quite direct, because it's exactly the same line. Whereas the Christ reaches directly some of these Chohans, and the Manu directly some of these Chohans, the Mahachohan does not have a direct line to any of these Chohans, but we have to assume that going through another third ray master, or Chohan, is a very direct line to the other Chohans. The Mahachohan would have to have a direct influence on the other Chohans under his supervision. And so we have 2 similars here the Mahachohan and the Venetian master probably allowing for this third ray to come through quite clearly, his influence quite clearly. So I just see, weeks and weeks of possible pondering on this chart, and you could just take relationships up 2 or 3 at a time in triangles and in duads and say, well, what could be the effect? What do we have here? If, let's just say, if ray 1, the planetary ray lord is Uranus, and this is Neptune, and this is Saturn, well, they all have a direct line to Sanat Kumara, so the 3 synthesizing planets would. Or if somehow we're going on the basis of the soul ray, then we have Vulcan and Jupiter and Saturn, and they would also then have a direct line with Sanat Kumara. Under the law of assembly, many intrasystemic influences can reach Sanat Kumara. He is, after all, a direct extension of the planetary logos, so it would make sense that the other planetary logoi would be connected with him. But the zodiac is left out of this. The zodiac also has many. If we tried to put in the zodiacal lines, it would just become impossible to differentiate. But I would say we could do a chart with the signs of the zodiac, showing their connection to these ray lords and hence to their representatives within the planetary hierarchy, in the large sense, within the planetary hierarchy of the Earth. So I just have to suggest, without really wanting to leave this, I've touched in on it many times, but never given exactly an exhaustive analysis of it, nor is this an exhaustive analysis. But at least I've suggested lines of connection. I've pointed out where lines are double and where they might not be easily seen because they are double lines, like right here, for instance. This thick line, this thick orange line is really a double line. This thick green line is really a double line. And we can notice that because the blue line is actually quite thin. So none of the, well, down here we have thick lines, but they are singles, I do believe. And the dotted line means that the Manu's line passes straight through to the 7th ray master, 7th ray Chohan, but another one touches the European master directly. So sometimes there is the cross-hatching or the dotted lines which signify passing through. Up here there were dotted lines, I believe. There were these dots, but they kind of indicate passing through. Here are some passing through lines, these dots, but Keith has pretty well, I think, filled them in. Yes, he's filled them in, and actually is better filled in some places. Well, that's enough for you to study, I'm sure. There's certainly enough to keep me busy for a long time. And I'll just, have to let it go at that. Hopefully not having missed any of the connections which are present. Somehow we don't see lines coming from the masters down to their initiates and disciples, but maybe via the Christ and Sanat Kumara, all of these are connected. Maybe some kind of straight line in a way goes through. It doesn't show it, but they are, I believe, connected because, accepted disciples among these ranks are taken by these various masters. But it would just be too much to show on the on this map. Whew. All right. So now we'll begin going on to yet another subject, which is a vast one. We already read this paragraph. We already read this paragraph that here is to be found the clue to the search which the adept or perfect man undertakes when he puts his foot upon one of the 7 possible paths. The reflections of the three major rays and four minor rays, who are called the seven spirits before the throne, or the planetary ray lords, are not shown on the charts. Well, planetary ray lords are shown on the charts, but the ones that are not, that's right, the ray lords are not shown in the intra-shambolic sense. That's correct. All right. So when he undertakes to put his foot upon one of the seven possible cosmic paths, and we know as well that now there are 9, the only way in which any light can be thrown upon the mystery lies in the consideration of these 7 cosmic paths, the mystery of the spirit, and the monad's progress, the progress of the liberated monad. Okay, 7 cosmic paths taken by the monad liberated from its monadic vehicle. So the study of the 7 cosmic paths, their names, their symbols, can throw light upon the mystery of the spirit. We can reveal very little, and he counsels caution. So now we're ready to begin something quite stupendous. And it will take us, he's going to say something about these paths, and these we will deal with first, and then the paths themselves, which begin a little bit later on page 1244. So we have 3 pages of discussion, preliminary of discussion of the paths. And it's also possible for us to go here. Let's see. These things keep on changing position, so it's not always easy. Okay. Right. And we'll look at these. And these are the these webinar commentaries. That's not what I want. Not that one. I think what I'll do is just pause for a moment. So what we will have here is a compilation on the 7 paths. So I'm going to depart from the text found in the Treatise on Cosmic Fire, because this text is included. And when we're talking about Path 1, we have Initiation, Human and Solar, and a Treatise on Cosmic Fire, and the rays and the initiations. So some of this is from a Treatise on Cosmic Fire, but here are the 7 paths confronting the Master. Some of this I'll have to take up. It's not exactly in order. And this is the path of Earth service. Okay. So we have a few statements made here that are introductory to the path, and then the path of Earth service, which we will take up with Initiation, Human and Solar, and then Cosmic Fire, and then I assume here the rays and initiations, yes, on the path of Earth service, followed by, and it's good to follow it that way, the archaic stanza, which after this kind of study, it should be the right time to try to interpret it, the archaic stanza for path number 1, and thus it will go for all of them. We'll take the IHS, Cosmic Fire, and we'll also take rays and initiations plus the relevant archaic stanza. Okay, and we'll get rid of some of this. Creative hierarchies, and we're back to a treatise on Cosmic Fire. So we'll begin here on the nature of the 7 cosmic paths in just a little bit. So what I'm going to do now is transfer documents. I'm going to enter this composite document on the seven cosmic paths because it includes everything we have to really study, and it also includes the introductions to the seven cosmic paths from initiation, human, and solar, and also from the rays and the initiations. So I'll leave behind for a moment, and I'll just say here, transferring documents. Now, this will be a little bit tricky because I'm going to have to use different page numbers, I think. So I may not be able to give the exact page number where we are on this transferred documents. Transferring document from TCF to a compilation on the seven cosmic paths. And I hope that we can all stay, as it were, located, you know. So here it is, and maybe, right, I'll just make this a little bit smaller. Right, there we go. Okay, friends, this is the big, this is one of the big entries, and thus it will be for these archaic stanzas too. You know, one kind of wishes one could do the archaic stanzas all together in a row, but it maybe makes more sense to have studied everything written interpretively about the archaic stanzas that Master DK has given, and then try to see what else the archaic stanzas can produce in our understanding. So this is from Initiation, Human and Solar 185. As might be expected, very little has appeared in our literature as to the seven paths which stretch before the man who has reached the fifth initiation. And really, as it now stands, it is the Chohans who are taking these paths. Though when before, let's see, wait a second. This is English US. This won't do, will it? So I have to change this to a different default. All right. Whereas before, it was masters who could begin this journey. It is obviously impossible and also unnecessary to convey to our minds any impressions as to the significance of these paths. Of course, more information was subsequently given. He was given permission to do that, or as to the attributes needed for their treading, and he gave something of that as well. As time progresses and the race reaches a higher point of development, we shall be able to comprehend more, but under the law of economy, it would be fruitless effort for the teachers of the race to instruct us on the characteristics needed for treading the seven paths before we have yet approached or developed those required for traversing the probationary path, not to mention the path of initiation. So we have here a kind of realistic estimate of the status of humanity and of most students. Not ready for this information in any detail, but later he was allowed to give more information of a qualitative kind. I don't know if he knew that he was planning to do this in any depth in a treatise on cosmic fire, because the book Initiation, Human and Solar was written, of course, before a treatise on cosmic fire. Did he know he was going to do this? I don't know. But certainly when you look at what's in a treatise on cosmic fire, it's quite extensive. One general fact we do know, and that is that before these paths can be trodden, a master must be a master of the wisdom. A master of the wisdom. He must be a brother of compassion. And let's just say that even the masters of the wisdom are lords of compassion. But and lords of compassion are also masters of the wisdom. And lords of compassion, law of correspondence, I want to, and lords of compassion are also masters of the wisdom. MOTWS. Okay, masters of the wisdom. Okay, masters of the wisdom. Let's get that correct. Masters of the wisdom. S. Aha, it's going to be large, so that explains it. The lords of compassion are also masters of the wisdom, generally speaking. And maybe even Chohans. But there are still two distinct lines of development based upon their former training and energy systems. And he must be able, through intelligence and love, to wield the laws. So nobody can tread these paths. And it seems a cautionary note that's almost unnecessary, but you know how people are. In their own minds, they become masters, and the next thing you know, they're off on some kind of cosmic path. It's a huge inflation, a huge disproportion, but it's a cautionary note here. A man must be a master of the wisdom. He must be a brother of compassion. All masters of the wisdom are brothers of compassion, but lords of compassion is a kind of a technical term. We know that, let's say, the lords of compassion have more love than monastic training, and the masters of the wisdom have perhaps more monastic training and less training along the specifically love line. So our part at this time is to fit ourselves for the treading of the path of initiation by the discipline of the probationary path. And about this path, DK has given much in a treatise on white magic, and also in Initiation Human and Solar. The path of aspiration, the path of discipleship, much was given. By the careful direction of the life, by obedience to the law as understood as we understand it, and by service to the race. So all of this is preparation. And when we have attained liberation, then these paths will stretch before us. And by liberation, I suppose, here he means the fifth initiation. But even the fourth initiation is a kind of liberation. And the true liberation from the 5 lower worlds is attained at the 6th initiation. Then these paths will stretch before us, and the one that we should tread will become apparent to us. And therefore, apparent to us, though interestingly, mistakes can be made, as in the instance of the great Lord, the Buddha. All in this system works under the great law of attraction. That's this system, that is, i.e. in our solar system, right? In our solar system. And therefore, according to our vibration, according to our color and tone, will depend in all probability, though not absolutely definitely, our choice. In other words, we may have descended along a certain line according to our vibration, color, and tone, and the hint is given that reascending along the same line is meant to be. The greater free will of the cosmic system is under limitation. So that question is, but this is nevertheless a completely free choice. But still yet the principle of limitation is referenced. So even the greater free will of the cosmic system is under limitation. This is surprising, but maybe not so surprising if one just thinks about it, just as is the free will of the system of which we are a part. Well, if you think about the Syrian law of freedom exists, but also the law of karma simultaneously. Saturn and its higher correspondences are determining in these respects. Just as is the free will of the system of which we are a part, and the free will of man himself, upon innate quality will depend the direction of our further progress. So the Chohan must know very well his innate quality in order to make the correct choice. The choice of the Buddha was on the preliminary path of earth service, and from what I gather, it was supposed to be the path to Sirius. But of course, that's interesting because that path involves monastic training, and the Buddha, as a third-ray monad, had already accumulated all knowledges with respect to our planet. He came also from a third-ray solar system, the previous one, so my understanding of why he would take the path to Sirius is very limited. Anyway, we're told that in all probability he will not take that path anymore, having made the decision to take the path of earth service. We're told later that those who take the path service sometimes end up taking the path of solar logoi. We'll see. These 7 paths might be enumerated as follows, and certain deductions based on the law of correspondence might be given out, provided always that we remember that words serve more to blind than to elucidate. Well, you kind of wonder whether we should think or talk at all, and that the briefest details are only possible. Okay, so this is the introduction from Initiation, Human and Solar. And I think it's wise, whoever compiled this, I think it may have been done in relation to the USR in earlier days, but I don't remember myself compiling this. So I am benefiting from something that a coworker or student has done, and it helps us consolidate our information. Later, of course, we will go through, provided time allows, the initiation, the rays and the initiations. And when we come to this section, we'll probably have to say, well, look, we have done this already. All right, now comes the introduction from the Cosmic Fire, page 1241. It should be carefully borne in mind that when the term path is used, it is simply an energy term. I think that's a very important statement. And streams of energy are indicated, 7 streams which blend and merge to form one path eventually. And this greater path will probably lead to the Pleiades. It should also be noted, well, and now there are 9 paths, as we know. It should also be noted that the adept who undergoes the discipline and who passes through the initiatory rites, which will enable him to tread those 7 paths, has transcended color. So this means has transcended perhaps the limitations of the rays. In a way, rays are colors. Anyway, there is some sort of qualitative limitation he has transcended. Some sort of qualitative limitation which has been transcended. Has passed beyond the veil Veils of the monad, i.e., the 5 lower worlds, and has expanded his consciousness so that he is at one with the conscious life of his planetary logos. And what does this mean? He is a planetary life. He is in the kingdom of planetary lives. At least as a monad he is that, and now these paths are being taken by those who are self-conscious monads. He has therefore arrived at a stage incomprehensible to man now. So often we act as if we were the lower ego and think of ourselves as that ego treading one of the seven cosmic paths. 7 cosmic paths. He is passing out of the realm of substantial forms altogether into the realm of energy, so he is moving beyond the worlds of Brahma on the cosmic physical plane. He knows the life of the two aspects, the soul and the body, and is passing away from the realm of awareness altogether, and I suppose moving into the realm of identification, I suppose. This will sound to the average reader like a foolish jingling of words and splitting of hairs, but he who reasons by the law of correspondences and who has grasped, see, that's what we must do. We must learn to reason by the law of correspondences. It will guide our reasoning toward the intuition. He who has grasped the basic essential relativity of the three aspects to each other has arrived at the knowledge that back of all form is a subjective life which is known by its quality, its color, and its attributes. Well, that's pretty much the soul in a sense. He has expanded his consciousness until gradually he has ascertained and made a part of his own conscious ensemble those attributes and qualities. In other words, ensemble means a coming together, right? So we often talk about aggregations and coming together. He knows his energy qualities. But the pulsating dynamic vibration, which is the, and notice pulsating, this is a very important word, it's not given randomly. The energy of the spirit operates through pulsation. And this is why it is that representative of the monad called the jewel in the lotus pulsates. The power that touches and then withdraws. So even in the heart, there is this first ray energy of pulsation. It's a first ray, second ray center. But the pulsating dynamic vibration, which is the producing cause of both the subjective, i.e., qualitative life, and its qualitative form, is as yet to him the mystery of mysteries and the ineffable secret. True esoteric schools are to reveal this ineffable secret, or at least this secret lies at the heart of the revelation which they must impart or begin to impart. We see that the unseen, unheard purpose of Sanat Kumara, but of course, in a way, that's a purpose, and the esoteric secret here is more than purpose. It is being itself. It becomes the goal of his endeavor as he sets foot upon one of the 7 paths which face him after the 5th initiation. So, well, okay, it is right. It's after the 5th initiation, but now, at least, he does not take these paths until he is a Chohan. And I'm going to see if I can abbreviate that. No. We'll do it this way. Chohan. CHO. Not wanting to have to capitalize those. Chohan. If we capitalize the word master, indicating a high stage of development, we might as well capitalize the word Chohan. So it becomes the goal of his endeavor as he sets foot upon one of the 7 paths which face him after the 5th initiation. If a master of the wisdom, and the one who has unified both manas, intellect, and wisdom buddhi, knows not what shall be revealed to him as he treads the cosmic path which is his choice, surely it is needless for us to try to comprehend at our relatively low stage of evolution. So you want to say see. No. I see what it is. We can say our relatively low stage of evolution. We can say that see how Master DK identifies with us. See, he's speaking from a point of view of identification. You know, he's acting like one of us. He is and he isn't in a way. Surely it is needless for us to try and comprehend at our relatively low stage of evolution what is the true connotation of the word spirit. So we will always have before us an approximation of the word spirit. Never at this point full realization. Pondering upon these matters is for the average man not only useless but also dangerous. What will happen? Too much energy, perhaps? He has not yet the apparatus of thought necessary for its safe undertaking. It is as if one tried to force a child in the 1st grade in school to comprehend the differential calculus and the laws of trigonometries. Should we shy away, perhaps? These seven paths, when trodden, and who treads, the liberated monad now treads these paths. They are paths of intensified identification. It's not that they are not so much paths through space during time, though it takes time, and one can transfer one's space or one's locus of focus, as it were. But they are reached, they are trodden through the ongoing elevation of vibration. So these 7 paths, when trodden, prepare a man to pass to certain cosmic initiations, including those upon the sun Sirius. Well, let's say that mastership is the first for man. Mastership is for man the first cosmic initiation. But remember, we did talk about cosmic initiations being in their own series. Like, it's not like we can go from the first cosmic, like the cosmic initiation of a planetary logos is the same as the cosmic initiation of man. That simply would not be the case. One hint may here be given. Each of these paths eventually leads to one or other of the 6 constellations which, with ours, form the 7 centers in the body of the one about whom naught may be said. Now, here is the danger, because I have talked about 7 stellar systems of constellations. I've also talked about the 7 solar systems of which ours is said. Ours is 1, excuse me. So what is our constellation? To me, it is the 7 solar systems, of which ours is 1, or a local group of stars, which is a constellation, and in which our solar logos plays its part. It is the 7 major and other stars of our of the cosmic logos, who includes our solar logos. That's what it is to me. Now, some of my colleagues see this differently, and they see that our solar system can sometimes be called a constellation, and it is sometimes called a constellation, rarely, I think, but it is, because, of course, it is a constellation of units. It's a constellation of planetary schemes. So when units are gathered together, they are constellated. It is that. But to me, when he uses a word like with ours, I always say with our what? With our constellation, which means the starry system of our cosmic logos, and not here, meaning our solar system as a constellation. It's not a constellation in terms of starry systems. It's a constellation of one sun and a planet, a kind of constellation. So I think you get what I mean, that when this is a blind, I believe, each of these paths eventually leads to one or others of the 6 constellations which, with ours, with our local 7 solar systems, form the 7 centers of the body of the one about whom naught may be said. And remember also that although there are 7 centers, there must also be correspondences to the head centers, and to the centers in the heart in the head of the one about whom naught may be said. And this we have discussed already as the zodiac. So when I was first exposed to this, it's easy to be a little dumbfounded by the idea that these vast starry systems are equated with our own little solar system, which is called a constellation. But when you say, what's our constellation? Well, we know what our system is, but what's our constellation? Our constellation need not be the same as our system. It can be this local grouping of stars, which are called the 7 solar systems. That, of course, system is a blinding word too, because sometimes the 7 constellations can be called the 7 solar systems, as I pointed out earlier in these programs. But there are 7 solar systems of constellations. Indeed, they are systems of stars, and there are 7 solar systems. There is a which are 7 single stars, which are the usual kind of solar systems coming together in one constellation. Okay, but I've spent a lot of time on that, and I think my friend Stephen Pugh and I have different points of view on these things, but that's fine. He has reasoned well according to his own line, and I hope I have reasoned reasonably according to my own line, and time will tell. And the final statement of Master DK, who will be unblinding these matters, I suppose, at some point. I don't know, for the general public, maybe. But we'll be unblinding these matters, I would say, will let us know what is the case here. I always refer to page 293 of A Treatise on Cosmic Fire, where a cosmic logos is different from the unknown. And the unknown, as far as I can understand, is our local one about whom naught may be said. A cosmic logos is a lesser being who has stars for constellations, and the unknown has stars for chakras, and the unknown has constellations for chakras. Okay. Those adepts, therefore, who stay for a prescribed length of time upon our planet are a correspondence to those greater initiates who remain for many kalpas within the solar system, taking certain mysterious initiations concerned entirely with solar evolution. And note then, therefore, solar evolution is not planetary evolution. This confirms or goes towards confirming the idea that there are levels of cosmic evolution, and man treads one, the planetary logoi another, and the solar logoi still another. And, you know, what's he saying here? That if some high initiates can remain on Earth for the path of Earth service, then some very, very high initiates can remain within the solar system, as if it were Earth, to tread the path of solar service, let's call it that. And just the way the path of Earth service leads one to fight one's way onto the path of the solar logoi, then one can only imagine what the path of solar service could lead those to do who had made this great sacrifice of staying within our solar system altogether. This is really amazing stuff. So, if treading the path of Earth service allows one to transfer to the path of the solar logoi, path of the solar logoi, well, I'm going to have to put that one in, right? Path of the solar logoi. Or it could be also called the path which our logos is on, but maybe we can describe it this way. Then, staying with the solar system sacrificially will probably allow those high initiates who do so to transfer to maybe a path which the path of the cosmic logoi. I mean, this is a speculation, wild speculation, but you can see how far it is going from man to the solar logos. Well, how far will it be going from staying in the system of the solar logos and transferring to a still higher solar initiation? It might be the way of becoming even a cosmic logos, along with, of course, other spirits who have the same destiny. But who would be these high, greater initiates who are remaining for kalpas? They're not human beings. These greater initiates are not like human initiates. They have already achieved a very high status, maybe as high as planetary logoi. In other words, they're probably separated from human initiates a very long time, and they stay for many kalpas, maybe for trillions of years within our solar system. That would be so whenever there's a sacrifice, there's always a compensation, just as there is a compensation for the human beings who remain with the earth and forego certain other opportunities. A kind of direct transfer to a very high path is possible. Their work is concerned with the system as the center in the body of that existence who vitalizes the logos of our solar system. Well, I think I was on track here. The cosmic logos, or the first one above the logos. And as I said before, there is already a second one above the logos, whom I think of as the one about whom not we said, of whom we usually say too much. The one about whom too much has been said, and then there's the one about whom nothing at all can be said, and that's the absolute, but that doesn't stop ignorant people like myself from saying as much as possible about the one about whom nothing can be said ever. But okay, it's my hope to break the mind, you know, to shatter the mind, hopefully not in some insane way, but to shatter the mind until on the borders of the shore of intuition it disintegrates and becomes the intuition. There are many ways into Buddhi Manas, I think, you know, and this is kind of one that I seem to have chosen. All right, so we're in this. It might be of value here to list the 7 cosmic paths as follows, and then we'll break off on this. We're in the compilation now of all that is said about the 7 cosmic paths. The path of Earth service, the path 1, path 2, path of magnetic work, path 3, the path of the planetary logos, path 4, the path of Sirius, the bulk of humanity taking that, path 4, the ray path, path 6, the path of the solar logos. I wonder, path of the solar logos. Yes, path of the solar logo. Well, I just did that. Only there's the path of the solar logos, that's our singular, and the path of absolute sonship. And it must be borne in mind that no confusion of thought must be permitted that these terms are the generic names given in the mystic parlance of the Lodge of the Masters to the 7 masters, to the 7 methods of work. So these are simply names by which we can come to understand something of these paths, but are not the names which the masters use. So, right. So it must be borne in mind, no confusion must be allowed. It must be permitted that these terms are the generic names given in the mystic parlance of the Lodge of Masters to the 7 methods of work. 7 methods of work, of endeavor and of aspiration. Still there. Still aspiration. At that high level, indeed, whereby the perfected sons of Earth's humanity pass on to specific cosmic paths or streams of energy, making in their totality one great cosmic way. Right. So that's clear. The 7 cosmic paths are the one way of higher evolution. So there are not ways of higher evolution, but one way. At least the 7 blend into one, and this should not surprise us when we saw the cosmic parabrahm, right? Every member of the septonate blends into the same unifying factor. So this is the end of Cosmic Fire Webinar Commentaries number 16B, page, I'll say page 6, but it may change. The page may change if I go in and write other things. Page 6 of the commentary, page 6 of the compilation on the 7 cosmic paths. And beginning on Cosmic Fire Webinar Commentaries, 16C of the compilation on the 7 cosmic paths.